Our boy Bernie, he's at it again. In the era of Trump, he isn't just focused on #resisting, he's focused on rebuilding, reimagining, on revamping the Democratic Party, and restoring the American dream. Was that enough words for you? Anyways, what I mean by all of that is he's not just working on stopping Trump. He's working on creating legislation so people can clearly see that there's an alternative to the Republican awfulness. That's why he proposed the bill about jailing pharma executives who are knowingly pushing opioid pills despite their risks. That's why he's proposed Medicare for all, among many other things. He's putting things on the table that never have been, and he's able to get attention for them because of his new clout since his presidential run. Some cynics might say, well, it's easy for him to propose this because it will never pass under this administration. Well, one, he's been proposing ideas like this his entire career, and two, Trump won't be president forever, and Republicans won't control Congress forever, God willing. I mean, a million fingers and toes crossed. And once that's not the case, now there are issues out there, and these issues are out there. Democrats will be pressured into joining his side. He's making things possible that were previously deemed impossible. Things like this. Senator Bernie Sanders announced a plan Wednesday that he says will lift the nation's lagging wages by restoring power to unions and protecting workers in the gig economy, both top items on the labor movement's wish list. The Workplace Democracy Act, co-sponsored by Senators Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, Kamala Harris of California, Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, and 10 other Democrats, would make it easier for workers to organize, supporters say. Some of those other Democrats are Tammy Baldwin and Sherrod Brown of Ohio, Baldwin of Wisconsin. They've also signed on to co-sponsor. The bill would allow employees to form a union by a majority sign-up process rather than an election, which proponents say heightens the risk of employer meddling, require companies to negotiate with a new union within 10 days of receiving a request, mandate that workers in every state pay some dues to unions and that represent them, and expand the law's definition of employer, a hotly debated term as the country's contractor workforce expands. Sanders said he hoped his push would shift the conversation about jobs from the dropping unemployment rate to stagnant wages. The jobless rate hit an 18-year low of 3.9% in April, according to the most recent government data, while pay growth stayed flat. It's not a question of just jobs. It's a question of what those jobs pay, Sanders told the Washington Post. Many of the occupations that are growing in this country do not pay workers a living wage. Exactly. So that's what's frustrating me a bit about the American media. New polls say that Trump is above water on his handling of the economy, a growth from February. In fact, his approval rating on all of the issues is growing, but the economy one is specifically frustrating given the tax bill that just went through. Overall, 41% approve of the president's work and 53% disapprove. Those numbers are about the same as at the end of March. On the issues, however, Trump's numbers are climbing. Approval is up 4 points on the economy to 52%, the first time it's topped 50% since March 2017. Democrats' approval rating for Trump's handling of the economy is up 11 points to 26%. That is both a massive failure on the part of the Democratic Party when it comes to messaging, and also a failure of the American media. Yes, the economy is going well for the banks he's worked to deregulate, and the corporations and the rich people he's given massive tax breaks to with that insane bill. The worker who got $10 extra in his paycheck every month is going to be feeling massive, awful effects, and soon, especially because his wages or her wages aren't rising. The media only focuses on the unemployment rate, not wages and underemployment. That's not a sexy topic, and it forces them to maybe acknowledge that the system that they love so much isn't working for a lot of people. But Bernie Sanders is trying to change that conversation. So again, even if this bill doesn't pass, which it almost certainly won't, that's what this will do. With this new clout that he has, the media will be forced to at least talk about this bill a little, I think. And now there are rumblings about giving workers more bargaining power. This is partly an effort by Sanders to piggyback on the mass pro-workers movements that we've seen across the country recently, led by pretty much teachers, specifically in West Virginia, Kentucky, Arizona, and Oklahoma. All red states, mind you. If you're noticing what's going on, the teachers are ahead of their union officials. I'm very impressed by that, Sanders told HuffPost. To my mind, this is the tip of the iceberg with workers standing up. Sanders said the teacher walkouts are evidence that more workers would like to band together in unions if only the law made it easier. To that end, the senator led a group of Democrats in unveiling a bill Wednesday that would dramatically reform labor law and boost the dwindling ranks of unions in the private sector, where just 6.5% of workers are members today. It would ban right-to-work laws, which allow employees to opt out of paying union dues, even though the union must still bargain on their behalf, leading to what unions call free riding. In recent years, Republicans and business groups have pushed to expand the reach of right-to-work laws, which are now on the books in 28 states, including traditional labor strongholds like Michigan and Wisconsin. The bill would also legalize secondary boycotts, allowing unions to target an employer's clients as a way to pressure the employer. Secondary boycotts were outlawed in 1947 under the Taft-Hartley Act, the same law that paved the way for right-to-work statutes. I love, love, love the boldness of this bill. Outlawing right-to-work laws is extremely ambitious given how much these corrupt Republicans and some Democratic governors have embraced them, unfortunately. But this isn't Reagan America anymore. Union isn't a dirty word anymore in the age of awful wealth and income inequality. The discourse has changed. And it's not just me, putting my finger to the wind and noticing what's going on and saying that arbitrarily. It bears itself out in the numbers. The popularity of labor unions has increased markedly since the Great Recession. A 61% approval rating in 2017 is the highest that Gallup has seen since 2003. Yet public policy appears to be moving in the other direction as GOP-led states peel back collective bargaining rights, and the Supreme Court considers making the entire public sector a right-to-work zone. Workers are pushing back, and Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris and the other senators signed on to this bill are trying to give them a leg up in their effort to regain some semblance of bargaining power. Give them bootstraps for their boots, if you will. And look, to their credit, both Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi have tried something like this with their new platform. Part of the bill has already made it into the Democrats' Better Deal platform, which calls for an end to right-to-work laws and was unveiled by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi late last year. Part of that is, yes, the Democrats do receive a lot of money from unions, and that's an issue with money in politics. When I want to appeal to conservatives about getting money out of politics, I tell them that it wouldn't just be corporations. Unions couldn't fund our politicians too. And then they're like, yes, working people not having any power? Ugh. I love it. But I digress. The Democrats are on the right side here, and we'll have to see how many other Democrats sign on to this bill, because the usual progressive suspects in the Senate have signed on already. But as always, thank you, Bernie Sanders, for being a tireless advocate for working people and shifting the conversation from the lazy statistic of unemployment to underemployment and wages. A job isn't worth anything if you can't get a living wage from it. And one of the ways we can ensure a living wage is to make sure that America's workers are able to actually collectively bargain with their employers and have rights in dealings with their employers. I love this bill.